This will be a part one highlight to the history on CBD and cannabis, and it is in reference to what I had posted up last week, so I've been meaning to get back to some questions on there. Here we go. Admission time. I was one of those people who believed the lie about CBD. I assumed that every person who took any form of CBD or cannabis was just out to get high, pretty much. After years of seeing the stories from people, mostly parents, who were saying goodbye to modern medicine to assist with their children, whether it's cancer or the hundreds of other chronic illness that are running rampant out there, just can't ignore any longer that they are turning to CBD treatments and that they're actually showing results that many of them could not even talk about because of the patents owned by those in charge. Ever wonder why you can't say words like helps, heals, and cures for any supplement product that is not FDA approved? I just couldn't ignore the life-changing, practically zero side effects and results. You also have to realize that when we take anything that is FDA approved, down to Tylenol, there are no guarantees, okay? There's going to be risks that come with everything. If you close your eyes to the commercials from approved pharmaceutical products, you're going to find a slew of side effects worse than the actual ailment that you're attempting to treat. Worse side effects that can result in things like heart attack, stroke, or, even death because you're looking for some psoriasis or restless leg syndrome relief. Yet they get a pass. You tell somebody nowadays that Tylenol comes with all kinds of risks, which I will list here, and you can take the time to Google it up yourself, and people will look at you like you're crazy. How dare you question what they were told was normal? As with most things, I like to look at the history first. I wanted to know why I was of this belief with CBD to begin with. And, I can tell you that the road down this rabbit hole in particular is a fairly quick one. It can take you barely 30 seconds to find out that it's been only in the past 70-something years that we have been told that CBD and cannabis, hemp, was terrible for you and only something that the bottom dwellers of society will take. So now we have a few generations worth of people in this mindset, meaning that their parents and even grandparents, most of us, right, were sold on this fabrication. But if you dig just a little bit deeper, you'll find that it's been documented 3,000 years prior that cannabis was established as an integral part of human civilization. And the first reference of material when it comes to cannabis is in the form of the Chinese materia medica. Right now, if you're wondering why this sudden burst in CBD and what all this hoopla is about it, well, in 2012, after over 75 years of prohibition, Colorado and Washington state finally legalized recreational use. And then slowly but surely, more and more states followed suit. And now there's this recent, within this decade alone, surge of people who are coming to this very realization that you and I have to come to, where they, along with their parents, well, like with everything else, lied to. And then there's this heaping amounts of chronic illness and pharma-dependent ailments throughout America. This is a first world nation that is one of the sickest and most dependent on lifelong prescription. Honestly, many people just got to their boiling point of, I refuse to live like this, and there has to be another way. And there is. There always has been. It was taken from you. Something natural and from God's green earth was historically used in all cultures, from medicine, textiles, clothing, paper. One of the most versatile plants ever discovered. And so for more information on the history and timelines of this kind of thing, because this talk could take forever, I don't want it to get to that, I suggest checking out this account, which they update. Thousands of years prior to 1883, cannabis hemp was the largest agricultural crop in the entire world. The majority of fabric, lighting oil, medicines, they all came from hemp. And in 1619, Virginia, which was a Jamestown colony, had a law that was enacted which mandated farmers to grow hemp. Ben Franklin used it to start one of the first paper mills, and until the 1800s, most textiles in the United States were made from hemp. 50% of the medicine marketed between 1850 to 1900 was made from cannabis. I mean, you had Queen Victoria, who was using resin extract from cannabis to alleviate her menstrual cramps. So what happened? Well, it got lumped in with this time in history that they would love for you to forget about called Reefer Madness. This is when yellow journalism had surfaced. So, August 11, 1930, a man by the name of Harry Jacob Anslinger became the director of the newly formed Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which is the FBN in Washington, D.C. Conflict of interest much? Anyway, he would end up running the FBN for 6 presidential administrations spanning more than 3 decades, and he brought this to religious organizations, and within a few years, he, along with Hollywood and all the media spin that they still do today, turned it into this fire and brimstone that is still seen as today by many religious people and has this huge stigma surrounding it.
Are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance. Innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors. Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell. In this film, you will see the ease with which this vicious plant can be grown in your neighbor's yard, rolled into harmless-looking cigarettes, hidden in an innocent shoe or watch case.
If you want a good smoke, try one of these.
Pleasure, but at a terrible price. Debauchery, violence, murder, suicide, and the ultimate end of the marijuana addict.
Believe it or not, that movie actually gets worse. Hollywood and that Liebox, aka television set, and the power that it really had, especially back then. There's a scene where they break glass, then they drink from it, and then shards and blood. And just 4 years after they re-legalized consumption of alcohol, prohibition and all, which ironically actually causes people to be really violent, and Congress then overwhelmingly passed the Marijuana Tax Act by a voice vote without a recorded tally, and this was signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt without any fanfare. The law went into effect October 1st of 1937. Martin A. Lee said it best: yellow journalism, racial bias, and political opportunism had triumphed over medical science and common sense. That day will go down in history. I will let you, on your own time, look into the very racist way that they made marijuana and cannabis out to be something that only Black people and Latino people who had terrible intentions were using. Great, so before we get into the differences between CBD and marijuana, I want to tell you why I started using it as well. I gave birth 9 years ago, just about, to my daughter Amelia, my firstborn, and I was also a victim of the lie that is modern day birthing, right? That belief that we need medical intervention. I mean, the rest of our bodies are capable for getting pregnant, carrying the baby, feeding the baby, but for some reason that labor part, yeah, you need to get the hospital. I was so consumed at the time with looking into the documented poison part via syringe that I didn't bother to take the time to look into the biggest injection of them all, which is the epidural that goes directly into your spine. But what did I know, right? So one of the many side effects to numbing your body completely is constant hip and back pains. 6 months after I gave birth, and now whenever the weather changes or there's a significant drop in the weather, I have pain. Initially, I went through 3 weeks of just non-stop pain. I was tossing and turning at night. It was my lower left hip. And I got to this breaking point. The only reason I even contacted my OB about it. I did not want any prescriptions, but the pain was way too great. I was pretty much told that this is a side effect that can happen with an epidural. I was like, gee, that would have been nice to know, but you offer it to me and other women when we're in excruciating pain and can't think or read. Obviously, this should go without saying that not everybody who gets an epidural is going to experience this. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Surprise, surprise, like with any medical, procedure. And since then, I have been stuck with this pain that every time there is a change or a drop in the weather, I've had to use relief creams. I've taken pain meds for it, but I hated the side effects that came with it. I've seen chiropractors, I've done massage therapy, and, nothing. I repeat, nothing has helped me completely alleviate the pain that I experience on the daily, except for CBD oil that I've been taking for the past few months with no side effects, right? No worry that I can't get a good night's sleep. Without having to wrestle, toss and turn, put the pillows in all kinds of funky positions and continuously readjust. And now it's just gone. It's completely gone. So for those who are curious as to why I personally take it, there you go. And for those that are thinking, well, now that you're no longer dependent on pharmaceutical pain meds, you still are going to be dependent on CBD oil. What part of zero serious side effects do you not understand? Because I always like to wrap with some kind of studies, I'll go ahead and post a bunch of links here for you to go ahead and look into when you have the time, and then I can save this to the highlights. So thanks for all your patience today. This was a long one. We'll be posting some things on the reduction of inflammation, cannabinoids and breast milk, multiple roles for the endocannabinoid system during the early stages of life and postnatal development, on just the endocannabinoid system. I'm going to save the other 100-something studies and links for another day. I think I've exhausted the CBD chat for today, at least. And before I get inundated with all kinds of brands, and I do realize that there are many CBD companies out there. We went with this one for many reasons. It checked off a lot of our boxes, okay? Mainly USA grown and certified, CO2 extraction, which is one of the more expensive ways to extract, but it's the best. Non-GMO and organic. The taste was my favorite. For us, they're a local pickup, as their corporate is located in Las Vegas. They offer a 60-day money-back guarantee, so it is risk-free. And best of all, the owners are pro-medical freedom, which means I get to talk about this topic and topics similar to this all day long without anybody calling me or messaging me telling me that I need to tone it down. So there you go. Time for